Again with you today, Karim and Irina Ra of Purple Sprout.
Hello, good
And,
morning.
and again, we are answering your questions on our health wave. So, don't know how many questions we'll get to answer today. We're planning to answer at least six. If we do not get to your question, please tune in next time. So, we answer the questions in the order they are received. So, let's get started.
Yes?
Okay, next question. So I really want to touch upon the difference between the refined sugar and fruit again to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we cover all of the points. So we mentioned that the biochemistry is very different. Fruit has left spinning ions that can enter actually the cell membranes, right? They can nourish us as opposed to, and it's natural, as opposed to refined sugar that's actually a it's flat physiology, doesn't have any energy, plus it is considered to be an industrial product because of the multiple stages of processing that it goes through. So it's not even a a food anymore after it's done being processed.
Yeah, it's basically a chemical
Mm-hmm.
chemical substance. So sugar doesn't grow in nature, of course, and the only way the sugar grows in nature is in the fruit, within the roots, and within the pumpkins, for example, winter squashes, and nature has designed it so that we consume this sugary foods only in the second part of the year, in late summer, in fall, and in beginning of winter. This is where it's appropriate for us to eat the fruit. That way, we accumulate, we put on some weight, we reserve some energy for the time that's to come, which is depleting time of winter, where we don't really then have much of it available to us, and then our body can little by little utilize that energy by releasing the fat tissue that the fruit will turn into eventually, and just like in bears, like bear goes and eats that and accumulates a lot of fat tissue, and then it's hibernates through winter utilizing that energy. It's pretty much the same for us too. And sugar, once it's refined, it misrepresents the amount of um, food, in fact, that our body would
Because it's so
otherwise,
concentrated.
yes, otherwise consider. Because if it's so concentrated, then the body would think that, oh, I've consumed this amount of food by nature, because this is how it's created. Nature works in communication with our physiology. Even though we may think that we can trick it, we really cannot. And because there's a huge and great amount of sugar, and that is the the essence of food, as far as the nutrient content goes or considered, then the inadequate release of insulin would happen, because body considers with that small amount of sugar a great amount of food should have been consumed. But in fact, there is no other nutrients that came with the sugar but just the sugar, and nothing else is produced but only the insulin. And not all that sugar can also be, especially if we eat it in different products, as a refined sugar, as a refined flour, things like that, consistently, day in, day out, 3 times a day, then the body will definitely be chronically confused. And this is where we witness the formation of insulin resistance and diabetes type conditions. Metabolic uh, conditions arise from that turns into fat, and fat stores toxins and overwhelms the tissue, uh, producing this insulin resistance. So everything flows out of it. However, when we eat the natural fructose, and fruit also need to be considered, because fruit is the separate food group and needs to be understood, because it's fully safe, sustainable type of nutrition. You don't have to be eating anything else but fruit, and under specific conditions, when you're train your body and change its metabolic mode to function only on fruit, and this is possible. But the modern medicine doesn't really confirm that, or they just don't research it enough to confirm it. Um, then when you start mixing fruit with other type of nutrition, then this is when uh, this confusion and mistakes happen, because fruit would easily oxidize the proteins and fats, and this is why they should not be consumed together. That means that after having uh, feeling lunch that consists of proteins, for example, and polymeric carbohydrates like polysaccharides, which is also inappropriate in the same line. But after that you eat fruit, then most of what you've eaten just goes to waste. Fruit and the other substances, or the other foods too, would just not be usable much anymore for your metabolism. Uh, and this is where the mistakes arise. Um, so eat fruit in the morning, preferably on empty stomach.
By
In the
itself.
first part, yes, by itself, maybe with berries or fresh greens, always fresh, not cooked. That's the best way to do it, and only in the first part of the day. And after you've eaten fruit, allow like couple of hours before you have lunch with that has different components in it, fats and proteins. Then they can come at lunchtime and in dinner time. But after you've had the protein and fat, stay away from fruit or any carbohydrate
For the rest of the day.
Yes, for the rest of the day, and that applies even to the to grains and legumes. Try and stay away from those after you've had the protein and fat.